All right, folks, we have some fairly disturbing and major breaking news courtesy of Fox News. As we discussed in a previous video, Trump Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt announced that Trump would be making a decision about the United States vis-a-vis the hot war between Israel and Iran sometime in the next 2 weeks. Well, according to a leak from Fox News, one of those options includes a potential tactical nuke. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, again, this is a bit of a breaking news alert courtesy of Fox, and it's almost like a blink and you'll miss it sort of thing. But again, Fox News seemingly confirms that, yeah, tactical nuke is on the table.
To senior White House correspondent Jackie Heinrich, fresh from the White House briefing. Hi, Jackie.
Hey, Martha. There have been a lot of headlines this afternoon, including one from The Guardian that claimed that the U.S. military has doubts about whether the bunker buster bombs could get the job done, and further claiming that only a tactical nuke maybe could finish it. And it further stated that the president is not considering a tactical nuke, that it was not one of the options that was presented to him. I was just told by a top official here that none of that report is true, that none of the options are off the table, and the U.S. military is very confident that bunker busters could get the job done at Fordo.
Well, that last part is encouraging, that they're confident that a tactical nuke is not necessary. But the part before that, where they're like, no, the report that said a tactical nuke is not being considered is actually not true and all options are on the table. That's the part that's disturbing. That pretty seemingly confirms that Trump is seriously considering not just bunker busters, but also tactical nukes, because otherwise they would say, no, the bunker buster, they're confident will work, and so a tactical nuke is unnecessary. All other options are available. They said all other options are being considered. All other options are on the table, including a tactical nuke. That seems like a pretty severe escalation. And of course, this comes in the broader context. As Aaron Frischner pointed out yesterday on Twitter, 7 minutes apart, breaking news from CBS. Trump approved attack plans on Iran, but hasn't made a final decision to strike, sources say. From CNN, 7 minutes before that, Trump mulls his options. Trump is intent on avoiding a wider, prolonged conflict as he nears decision on whether to strike Iran's nuclear facilities. So apparently the most recent update is he's reviewed, attack plans and has approved them. Whether or not that they'll pull the trigger on that remains to be seen. The Wall Street Journal discusses this as well. Trump's Iran decision to come within 2 weeks. Trump will make a decision on potential strikes on Iran within 2 weeks. The White House press secretary quoted a statement from his as saying, European foreign ministers are slated to meet with Iranian officials in Geneva on Friday to press them to de-escalate and to offer a rollback of Iran's nuclear activities. Meanwhile, Iran and Israel continue to exchange fire as the conflict entered a 7th day. An Israeli hospital was hit by an Iranian missile, while Israel said it struck 100 targets in Iran, including the heavy water reactor in Iraq, and a site in Natanz that said it was being used for nuclear weapons development. Trump told senior aides late Tuesday that he approved of attack plans for Iran, but was holding off to see if Tehran would abandon its nuclear program, people familiar with the deliberations said. Asked if he had decided whether to strike at Iran's nuclear facilities, Trump said, quote, I may do it, I may not do it. And he repeated his insistence on Iran's unconditional surrender. Quote, the next week is going to be very big, maybe less than a week. So 2 weeks, maybe a week, maybe less than a week, who knows. The U.S. has built up military forces in the region in recent days. A third U.S. Navy destroyer entered the eastern Mediterranean Sea, and a second U.S. carrier strike group is heading toward the Arabian Sea. While the Pentagon said the buildup is defensive, it better positions the U.S. should Trump decide to join Israeli attacks on Iran. It could also be a tactic to pressure Iran to capitulate or to make concessions. So, it also notes that the Ayatollah said his country wouldn't surrender and warned any U.S. military intervention would bring irreparable consequences, as we discussed in a previous video. So this is, again, pretty damn stunning that a tactical nuke is an option, that Trump is considering that these options are on the table. This would be, again, like right now we're seeing a lot of controversy. The polls indicate that, most people are going to, most Republicans, most people in Trump's coalition will back Trump no matter what. That people certainly don't want boots on the ground. But of course, a majority of Americans also believe that Iran should not have a nuclear weapons program, that the U.S. should act to prevent Iran from creating a nuclear weapons program, although the polls also indicate they'd prefer diplomacy. And if military action has to ensue, they'd prefer Israel to do it than Iran. So there seems to be, if you look at the polling, in general consensus that at the bare minimum, a military attack is a last resort measure, and even then, it's pretty unpopular. Trump also said that he's the master negotiator and that he'd be able to bring Iran to the table. As I keep stressing in the videos that we discuss about this, and this could have all been avoided if President Obama's JCPOA, the Iran nuclear deal, had been allowed to persist and Trump had not withdrew from that nuclear arrangement, that nuclear deal in 2018. It was just a middle finger to President Obama, whom Trump hated. And in the 3 years that deal was in effect, according to the United Nations and the various third parties contracted by the United Nations to investigate compliance with Iran, Iran was compliant. They were compliant. So the Trump administration itself, I think it was about a month, maybe 2 months before Trump withdrew from the deal, they also said, based on all available evidence, Iran was compliant with the deal. Just Trump wanted to shred it. And then he's been working overtime to effectively get us back into something resembling the JCPOA. So it's a tacit concession on Trump's part. And by the way, reporters should be relentlessly hounding him. Do you regret taking us out of the JCPOA? This wouldn't have happened under the JCPOA. It didn't happen under the JCPOA. Do you regret reversing President Obama's decision? Of course, he would, probably lose his shit and try to come up with some sort of blustery response, but the truth is the truth. Now, on the subject of whether or not Trump will strike Iran, I don't know what the betting markets are showing right now. I know Mediaite was discussing how an ex-NATO commander predict that Trump will strike Iran, 2 in 3 chance. Retired U.S. Admiral and former NATO Supreme Allied Commander James Stavridis predicted that Trump would order a military strike on Iran in the coming days during an appearance on CNN. After being asked about the factors that might be going into the president's thinking, he mulls his options. Stavridis weighed in, quote, "I think all presidents begin with pros and cons. The pro is pretty obvious here. The U.S. has the ability, using these big bunker-busting bombs we're talking about constantly, in all probability to take out definitively the beating heart of the Iran nuclear program at Fordo. That's a big pro. The con, the risk is tactical. Could a B-2 bomber get shot down? Could a fighter get taken out while escorting? Could the Iranians lash out at U.S. bases, U.S. partners in the region, go after oil fields? Could they close the Strait of Hormuz? There's a lot of cons here," he answered. Quote, "I think it's a close call for the president. At this point, Pamela, I would say that there's a 2 in 3 chance he will go ahead and strike. I think there's a 1 in 3 chance he'll give it a bit more time and see how diplomacy plays out. You can make a case on either side of that decision." So, obviously, there are prominent people like Lindsey Graham who are calling for a more aggressive posture. I think, I'm blanking on his name, the guy from Tom Cotton as well. Of course, there are also prominent MAGA Republicans like Steve Bannon, Tucker Carlson, and Marjorie Taylor Greene and others who are walking this back. But what I do know for certain is, or what I'm very confident of, is that no matter what Donald Trump decides, I expect that Marjorie Taylor Greene, Steve Bannon, and Tucker Carlson will bend over backwards to justify Trump's decision if he decides to proceed with some sort of military direct strike against Iran. And the cultishness of MAGA is such that, not all MAGA, I mean, we've seen Dave Smith, libertarian comedian and prominent Trump supporter, condemn Trump days ago and say that he regrets voting for him, regrets endorsing him, regrets defending him online, apologized for doing so, called for his impeachment. There will be some people who peel off, but I think like the diehard MAGA cult, Bannon, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Tucker Carlson, I think they'll bend over backwards and compromise their principles for Trump, as they always do. But yeah, so in the next 2 weeks, Trump is considering a direct military strike, and apparently one of those options, according to a leak provided to Fox News, apparently includes a tactical nuke. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.